Previously on the Baker's Dozen podcast.
I gotta tell you, it's different. Its lead character, he's a morphine-addicted hacker who has more issues than I could list in this hour-long podcast. Yet, Mr. Robot, I know the name's a little tough to get behind. It's rock solid.
American crime story, The People vs. O.J. Simpson on FX, had its season finale on April 5th. Simply put, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, or as many put it, that O.J. show, is the best show on television in 2016. I'll say it again. Look, this show is binge watching at its absolute finest. If you haven't checked it out yet, you can't rectify that situation soon enough. Do it, seriously. Watch this show as soon as you can. You won't regret it. The show has finally caught up and even passed the books. Damn you, George R.R. Martin. Damn you. Seriously, dude, you suck right now. I mean, thanks for the source material, but seriously, paint dries faster than you write.
You woke up this morning, got yourself a gun. Your mama always said you'd be the chosen one. She said you're one in a million, you got to burn the shine. You were born under a bad sign with a blue moon in your eye. Woke up this morning, got yourself a gun. Got yourself a gun. Got yourself a gun.
Great television and the summer used to never fit in the same sentence together. The summer TV lineup was mostly a wasteland, filled with failed pilots, networks scrubbing their dying show's last episode's order off, baseball, and more baseball, and reality or TV or game shows that were simply too terrible to be shown anywhere near primetime sweeps. Not anymore. Far from it, in fact. More high-quality TV enters the schedule each and every summer. And in a television world filled with DVRs, on-demand, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and the countless watch-when-you-want hardware and software, we the audience are the big winners now. Welcome to the 10th, that's right folks, double digits, episode of Season 3 here at the Baker's Dozen podcast. I'm your host, RiverCity Clement, and today's episode returns us to the Pop Culture Corner. Earlier this season, episode 3, I detailed 13 shows to check out on the upcoming spring television schedule. It's been a while. Shows on HBO, Netflix, Showtime, True TV, Sundance TV, Fox, and other networks were all included. It was in the same spirit as last summer's entertainment preview, in which both films and TV shows to check out were featured. Well, they say the third time's a charm, so let's take a look at 10 shows on this summer television lineup on a series of networks and platforms which you should absolutely consider checking out this summer. Some shows are returning favorites, whereas others are debuting for the first time. In addition, we have a few surprise guests ready to give their input and advice on shows that you should be watching or rewatching this summer that are on and off this list. Look, there's no reason to wait any further. Let's fire up the phone lines and see who the first of our 3 guests, count them 3 guests, are gonna be.
Flaming Mouse.
Yes, I'm looking for a friend of mine. Last name Jazz, first name Hugh.
Hold on, I'll check. Hugh Jazz. No, somebody check the men's room for a Hugh Jazz.
I'm Hugh Jazz.
Telephone.
Hello, this is Hugh Jazz.
Hi.
Who's this?
Bart Simpson?
What can I do for you, Bart?
Look, I'll level with you, mister. This is a crank call that sort of backfired, and I'd like to bail out right now.
All right. Better luck next time. What a nice young man.
You know, I'm not even mad about the cross lines. It's almost a little disheartening that the younger generations aren't going to realize just how amazing The Simpsons used to be. Not funny, but hilarious and brilliant, and just dynamic. And I'm not blaming the show. I mean, it's been on for 25 plus seasons. But between seasons 3 and 9, there are like 100 episodes, legit, 100 of them, that are Hall of Fame worthy television episodes. You know, if all else fails this summer on a rainy day, get those young kids watching the golden age of The Simpsons episodes. Those between seasons 3 and 9. I mean, that's a worthwhile challenge any age could and should undertake. But I digress. Hey, fix the phone lines. We got 3 guys coming. Get it going.
This is Clement.
Brett Needham, it's been way too long, but you're back on the Baker's Dozen podcast, and all is right with the pop culture world. Thank you so much.
Back on the BDP, man. Glad to be here.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bug you in 2 more weeks to come on as a regular guest, so this is just dipping your toes back in the water.
Cool, man.
Well, we're going to jump into our first show that we're looking at, and that's Mr. Robot. Brett, what got you interested in the USA Network's Mr. Robot?
Well, it was my wife. She had been bugging me for a couple of weeks to start watching it, and, I would imagine a lot of other people had the same reaction I did. Mr. Robot, even though I'm a nerd, I do not care about robots at all. A show about robots just doesn't interest me at all, but fortunately, it's not about robots at all. We watched the first episode and really liked it.
What are some of the typical current TV shows that you're watching these days?
Probably like most other people, watching Game of Thrones and Sunday nights. It's been a fantastic season. And we're watching Bloodline, Netflix, which is it's not the best show I've ever seen, but it's really good. And we did the old Breaking Bad thing, and we're watching Better Call Saul, and we've got a bunch of other shows kind of queued up. But a lot of SportsCenter, a lot of Jeopardy, and then the other shows I mentioned.
Well, a lot of people will notice those shows that you're watching are critically acclaimed. They've won a lot of awards. They have huge audiences. What is it about a show called Mr. Robot on USA that has you hooked?
Well, it's a couple of things. I think the first thing is the main character, Elliot. Here's a guy who's got social anxiety disorder and substance abuse issues and things like that. And what's cool about the show is they do a voiceover narration from the main character, Elliot's perspective. I was thinking about it, if it was the other way around and we were kind of like on the outside looking in, I don't think he'd be as interesting of a character. He definitely wouldn't be likable at all. But because we can kind of see the world through his point of view, it just makes things a lot more interesting. So the main character, his battle with things and his delusions are really interesting to me. And another thing is like the heavy Stanley Kubrick influence I get from the show. Everything from the cinematography to score and sound effects and just overall production. I think it's really cool. You can definitely pick up on a lot of influences from a lot of great movies, but Stanley Kubrick's really stands out to me, and I think that's pretty cool.
I'm glad you bring up the Kubrick thing, and I never thought of it that way. I sort of channel a little bit of David Fincher in him. It's got a little bit of a Fight Club, social network type feel to it. But I think Fincher is just the modern day Kubrick in the sense that dark tones, dark camera filters, dark music, that sort of Trent Reznor type sound that we know now in movies is pretty cool. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Do you have any hopes for season 2 of the show? Are you nervous? Are you anticipating it getting better and better? The saying goes, you have your whole life to make the first season of a show, and then you have 3 months to make the second season.
Right. I do have relatively high hopes. If you would have asked me this, last year, I would have said, yeah, I've got really high hopes. But then we saw what happened with True Detective, a show with a great first season and then very subpar second season. But I've got a good feeling about it. I think it's going to kind of mirror Breaking Bad with the story arc and kind of just have a constant thread that just runs through the show. I have relatively high hopes. It's going to be tough because the first season was really good, but why not have high hopes? You know what I mean?
I completely agree with you. It's my most anticipated drama of the summer. I can't wait to see what they come up with next, and they seem to be always a step ahead of modern news type stories with the tech world and political corruption. So we'll have to see. But Brett, the key is you came on, you let people know about the great Mr. Robot. Forget about the name, forget about the network. Just watch this show. Thank you so much, my man.
That's right, man. Hey, thanks for having me, Clement. I appreciate it, bud.
All right, we'll hear from you soon. Thanks. Our second guest is a man that you heard a few weeks ago on our political episode, and that's Schuyler Van Valkenburg. Schuyler, welcome back to the show.
Hey, glad to be back.
Well, we're going to go a little bit different here. This is not a new show, but this is a show that a lot of people are starting to find for the first time, and you're one of them. What got you interested in FX's The Americans, especially since it's in its 4th season right now?
Yeah, I don't know why now, right? Because it's been around and has been critically acclaimed for a while, and I've known that for a while, right? I was aware of the show, but I think I just had a moment where I was like, maybe I should check it out. Yeah. And it was just like a random moment, and then of course because of Amazon and Netflix and all these things, you can just go check it out. And it's a show that's totally suited for who I am as a human being. It hits all of my erogenous zones.
It's one of those shows where I'm always like, there are shows that I regret not watching. I regret not watching Sons of Anarchy when it was on. Yeah. I regret not watching The Americans now, and I need to rectify that. What are some of the typical current TV shows that you watch?
Yeah, so I'm kind of all over the place because I can't watch it consistently because of having 3 children. And so I'm House of Cards, although I'm on the outs now. I almost feel like I'm only watching it out of duty.
You're pot committed. I am too.
Yeah. And then, so that's one, Homeland a couple years ago.
It's gotten better. It's actually improved.
I didn't watch the last season though. We watched Love. Just nothing great. Just a nice little cheap, easy show to watch.
Netflix and chill.
Yeah, exactly. Girls, because my wife watches it, so I'll watch it. And
same here.
I typically hate that show, but I actually think the last season was pretty good.
That's something we talked about. Girls got good again, and it's only got 1 season left, so I think that it figured itself out.
Yeah.
Binge watching, especially when you have a family and you have a 6-hour block that you can watch 3 or 4 episodes. What are the benefits of that? Why do you like playing catch up with the Americans where you can watch 3 episodes in one sitting and then go away for 2 weeks?
Yeah, because it's literally the only way I can do it. I could if it was old school TV where it was you have to be in front of the TV at X time, right? Like my schedule doesn't allow that, and we get into periods where I don't even watch TV for months. Like a show, I'll watch sports, but like a show for months just because different things happening. It's typically just something my wife and I do together. And so if I didn't have binge watching, I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't be able to watch television consistently. A show, and the flip is like. If a show gets bad, I can just drop it and not even think about it.
That is one of the nice things about it. A lot of times you'll watch a show and you're thinking, is this going to get renewed? Is it going to get canceled? Yeah. Is it going to be great for a year and then jump off a cliff? Kind of like House of Cards, maybe.
Yep.
Do you have any future expectations for the Americans itself for this, end of the Cold War drama that has 2 more seasons left and you get to play catch up?
I haven't seen season 4 yet. We just started it last night. So they just finished that. I think it's going to be really interesting. And I think the show, I think it's one of the best shows that I've seen. Period. It's just so complex. But I really hope that it ends with 1989. Although season 3 ended in 1983, so I don't know if that's going to happen.
Got some work to do.
Yeah, they got some work to do. But it would be really interesting to see if they do that. And then that's the irony. The show ends when the wall comes down, and then they really are Americans.
I like that.
Right? That's how it's got to end, right?
That is a good point. And this is a show that I watched the first seasons of. First season, went away from it. I need to come back to it. You've got me sold. So FX is The Americans, one of the best shows on TV. Schuyler, thank you for coming back on the show.
Anytime.
And once you catch up, and once I catch up, maybe by the end of the summer, we'll talk some more.
Yeah.
Third guest for this episode is here to talk about AMC's new show, Preacher. Been on the show before, but not enough, and we got to fix that, and that's Jack Hatch. Jack, welcome to the show.
How you doing? Happy to be here.
If anybody watches more good television than I do, it's Jack. In fact, Jack has got me hooked on several shows, most notably Better Call Saul, so it's great to have him on here and get me hooked on another new show. AMC's new show, Preacher. Jack, what got you interested in watching the pilot?
Partially just giving AMC some love. They've been consistent. They've made a lot of good shows. The trailer looks interesting, and so far, 1 episode in, interesting is the right word for it.
Can you give us a brief synopsis, at least 1 episode in, on what this show is about or what the focus of the show is going to be?
With apologies to anybody who's familiar with the comics, I know nothing about it outside of what I've seen in the first episode so far. There's a character, guy called Preacher, kind of an ex-badass turned preacher. There's some supernatural elements. It's gritty, but it kind of brings the campiness of a comic book story into it.
It sounds like a good sell, and it sounds like something that even I could be interested in. What are some of the typical current TV shows that you watch so people that are listening to this review can get an idea of what you're watching?
As we discuss too often off the mic, off the air, Game of Thrones, always one of the favorites. Better Call Saul, as you mentioned earlier, having Justified, one of our recently departed favorite shows.
Still miss it.
So I kind of like the mix of dark humor, some gritty characters, but I'm okay with some campiness that's brought into it when it's done on the right level.
You know, a lot of people have fatigue, myself included, with this oversaturation of comic book-related movies and TV shows. Are there any recent exceptions that you'd recommend people check out, who people like me maybe have taken a couple years off that genre?
I have pretty much departed from any superhero-style movies at this point, except for Deadpool. Deadpool lived up to every great review it got. Between that and Guardians of the Galaxy, those are about the only 2 comic movies I've still been able to get through and really enjoy. So this is a little bit of a departure from my normal interests.
Well, you're 1 episode into Preacher. Is this a show that you're going to continue to watch? Are you going to give it 1 more episode? Or do you feel that you're invested and it's going to jump into your regular viewing lineup for this summer?
I think it's definitely going to jump into the regular viewing. Where we stand after the first season waits to be seen. We're a little cautious so far on being fully committed, but I think it's got enough good things there to definitely keep you coming back for the first season. See where it goes, how it plays out. Got good, strong characters, people you can quickly identify with, and I don't know exactly where the plot's going, but I am curious to see. My biggest worry actually, is that campiness, the supernatural, takes a turn for the worst. And by that, I mean True Blood after the first season or two, when it kind of went off the rails. That's my worry. I don't know if it's going to do that. I think it's grittier, but I am worried.
Well, I think trusting AMC has been a smart idea over the last couple of years. Jack, you got me hooked. I got to watch Preacher this week. I got to see if it's worth checking out. I'm going to break my embargo on comic book related stuff. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for the quick review of AMC's Preacher. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
Man, you got to love the caliber of guests we can get on this show. I mean, it's unbelievable. And 3 of them on one episode? Come on. It's not even fair. Stellar stuff from Brett, Schuyler, and Jack right there, back to back to back. I mean, that's Murderer's Row. I am way too fortunate in the guest and friend department, let's be honest. So, let's now take a look at the 10 shows, some of which you may have heard from in these earlier segments, that you absolutely should check out this summer.
I told him, OJ, you're breaking the laws of God. One day, everybody's going to know everything that you've done, man.
If you're a black man in America, you're fighting our war.
The reality of black America and white America. 2 totally separate worlds.
For us, OJ was colorless.
Can somebody say I can kill this woman?
21 years after the conclusion of the infamous trial of the century, O.J. Simpson's story is back on the pulse of television viewers. It started with FX's absolutely brilliant show, American Crime Story, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, based on Jeffrey Toobin's stellar book. Easily the top show this spring, The People vs. O.J. Simpson was gripping and captivating for 10 straight weeks. It will rack up several deserved awards. And the surplus of people flocking back to the O.J. trial of the century story continues this summer with what perhaps may turn out to be an even greater work on the topic, O.J. Made in America. The 30 for 30 inspired series, Made in America, debuts on ABC Saturday, June 11th, yours truly's birthday actually, and will then move to ESPN for the rest of its run, with episode 2 on Tuesday, June 14th, episode 3 on Wednesday, June 15th, episode 4 on Friday the 17th, and the final, episode 5, on Saturday, June 18th. Each will air at 9 p.m. and will be preceded by a re-air of the previous episode. What should one expect from this 30 for 30S documentary? Everything you could possibly ask for concerning the life, and not just the trial, of O.J. Simpson. This 10-hour documentary chronicles O.J. Simpson's rise from the San Francisco housing projects to football fame in college and the NFL, to his post-NFL career and infamy with the 1995 trial for the killings of his ex-wife Nicole and Ron Goldman. And you need look no further than the LA Times review to get excited for this incredible 10-hour series. Historically meticulous, thematically compelling, and deeply human, O.J. Made in America is a masterwork of scholarship journalism and cinematic art. If you're at all interested or invested in the O.J. story at any point in his life, coinciding with any point in your life, this might be the summer's best offering for you. Sign me up immediately, like right now. Now.
How am I back here?
They got your number now, honey.
This is gonna get interesting.
I don't trust any of you crazy bitches.
Swirl.
It's just like the Hamptons, only horrible.
I'm an inmate. I have nothing. Great. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Litchfield, inmate.
Orange is the New Black. Its 4th season drops on Netflix June 17th. Orange is the New Black helped launch, alongside House of Cards, the Netflix revolution. For many of us, it's not only hard to imagine TV without Netflix, but now more than several of our current favorite shows are found on the streaming platform. And while everyone may not be into Netflix and chill, many will, either for the first time or perhaps the 5th or 6th, fly through the first 3 seasons of Orange is the New Black in bated anticipation for its 4th season premiere, when all 13 episodes drop simultaneously at midnight on June 17th. And if you think that Orange is the New Black is just for women, you're absolutely wrong. And if you're new to this show, the story sells itself. Piper Chapman, played by Taylor Schilling, is sent to prison after being caught with the suitcase of a drug dealer's money in this drama based on the memoir by Piper Kerman. But the show is as good as an ensemble piece as television has given us in years. And that's where the true greatness of this show can be found. Time magazine captured this show's magnitude at its absolute best. The show becomes more engrossing as it spins out from Piper's story, fleshing out the inmates, their backstories, and their alliances. You may come for the culture clash cringe comedy. It's the real human stories, though, that will have you absolutely captivated. Orange is the New Black is not only Netflix's most watched show, it's also its most acclaimed, garnering countless Emmy, Golden Globe, and SAG Award nominations, and several wings along the way. It's broken the mold on gender stereotypes on television, examined corruption in the legal and penitentiary systems, and given women a vehicle in which to be the television stars of now worldwide notoriety.
She bothering you?
No, we were just talking.
Yeah. She is bothering me. And you need to be on your way, because she don't like talking to you, not one bit.
Are you kidding me?
Move, bitch. This is my wife here, so you
What?
need to
No, I'm
step.
not actually.
I will cut you! I will cut you, bitch! Don't make me cut you! You know where the fuck you are, bitch! You don't know me!
And while the show seems an unstoppable force with no sight to an end, I have to admit that I was a little down on Season 3. In fact, quite down at times. It didn't seem to recover from the loss of its best villain over the series, V, at the end of Series 2. The 3rd season seemed a little unfocused and sporadic with its storytelling, and no major plot movements for several episodes. And yet I'll more than be back for Season 4, that's a guarantee. By now, I'm going to be a little bit more careful though. I'm going to be watching with a more critical eye this time. Orange is the New Black is a show that may have to slowly redefine itself as it dances along the edges of being both a comedy and a drama. Orange is the New Black is truly a one-of-a-kind show, though. But it can't simply rest on its laurels, no matter how impressive they are, or perhaps they were.
What's your name, son?
Maz.
Where she said she wanted to go?
The beach.
The what? The beach? What happened, Nas?
The Night Of, an 8-episode limited series, premieres on HBO on Sunday, July 10th. An adaptation of Peter Moffat's 2008 BBC series Criminal Justice, this 8-part crime drama from Steven Zaillian, the writer of Traffic and director of Syriana, and Richard Price, was originally intended as a starring vehicle for James Gandolfini. After his death, Robert De Niro signed on to star, but then had to back out due to a scheduling conflict. Instead, John Turturro, think The Big Lebowski, takes the lead as a defense attorney whose Pakistani client, Nightcrawler's Riz Ahmed, stands accused of murdering a woman on New York's Upper West Side. Zaillian directs all but one episode of a series that has great early buzz coming out of its Tribeca premiere. The HBO previews and promos are dark and chilling, but short, just as you heard, and are getting plenty of airtime before and after episodes of Game of Thrones, Veep, and Silicon Valley this loaded spring season. It worked on me, as similar ventures from HBO, sans vinyl, typically do. I've decided to stay outside of the series hype and not know as much as possible before I start watching in July. But if I can somehow find even a tiny blend of The Jinx, the story of Robert Durst, and the first season of True Detective, I won't be able to stop watching this series as soon as it debuts in the prized 9 p.m. slot this summer on HBO.
You see it too, don't you? There are no guarantees anymore. No easy paths to follow. The future's never been less certain. They use that to scare us and keep us in line. Tell us we're powerless to do anything about it. The truth is, we have more power than they think. The power to take action, to choose to do something, anything. Anything but blindly following the herd and accepting that this is just the way things are. They can only keep us down if we let them. Together we can change the world, choose our future, and there's nothing they can do to stop us.
Mr. Robot's second series premieres on USA Wednesday, July 13th at 10 p.m. Quick, what's the best show on television? Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, Fargo, Better Call Saul? They're all solid options. And while 2016 is more than still up in the air, I think 2015 was a slam dunk decision. It was Mr. Robot. Yeah, a show called Mr. Robot on the USA Network was the best television show of 2015. I said it and I'll stand by it firmly. That Golden Globe statue for Best Drama doesn't hurt its rep either. While the show isn't for all audiences, it had me hooked immediately. The Philadelphia News' review said it best to me. Mr. Robot is creepy, wonderful, and makes great use of its New York locations, particularly Coney Island. But it's Malik's almost hypnotic performance as a bundle of hurt in a hoodie that sells it. The series follows Elliot Anderson, a young man living in New York City who works at the cybersecurity company Allsafe as a security engineer. Constantly struggling with social anxiety disorder and clinical depression, and some pretty hardcore drugs on the side, Elliot's thought process seems heavily influenced by paranoia and delusion. He connects to people by hacking them, which often leads him to act as a cyber vigilante. He is recruited by a mysterious insurrectionary anarchist known as Mr. Robot, and joins his team of hacktivists known as F Society. Starring Rami Malek, Portia Doubleday, Martin Wallstrom, and Christian Slater, Mr. Robot busted out of the typical USA drama mold, and series creator Sam Esmail's emerging masterpiece seemed to stay several steps ahead of real-life media exposés and scandals involving the tech world, greed corporations, and the constant state of surveillance we live in today, whether we know about it or not.
6 on-site engineers on your account, plus a few off-site.
There he is, Terry Colby, the CTO.
I know it looks a little complicated.
Even though he's the head technology guy at one of the biggest companies in the world, he owns a BlackBerry.
All the traffic for your company. This is it, right here.
It also looks like he doesn't see a terminal very often. He's not a techie, he's a moron. An arrogant moron. The worst kind.
The Social Network meets Fight Club in tone. I raved about Mr. Robot last season on the podcast, and will return with bated breath as we dive deeper into scandal, intrigue, mystery, and the daily struggles of Malik's character Elliot to survive in his ever-changing, ever-complex, tech-obsessed world.
Principal Wales, do you know who will be replacing you? I could give a damn whoever it is. It's all about the students. It's not about you two.
It's very wise. I get it. I mean, it might take a little while for it to sink in with this one here.
Go to hell, Gamby.
Make me go to hell, Lee.
Enough.
You enough.
At the midway point, it's Vice Principals, whose first season premieres on HBO on Sunday, July 17th at 10:30 p.m. The coveted 9 p.m. slot on HBO on Sunday night will belong to the night of, which we previously discussed. 10 p.m. will belong to Ballers, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, for its second season. Which, side note, I'll watch, but more for The Rock's star power than the quality of the show, at least what it showed its first season. But it's the 10:30 slot that has me the most amped, though, and that's because of Vice Principals. Co-creators Danny McBride and Jody Hill already have a cult comedy in the HBO annals, a little show you may have heard of called Eastbound and Down.
Did you hurt yourself?
No, I didn't hurt myself.
Because Coach Booth said after his back surgery, he has to go to rehab.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hurt myself. I hurt my nose.
While McBride is back in a starring role as one of the prospective candidates to move from VP to principal, it's the addition of Walton Goggins, a staple for fans of shows like The Shield and Justified, and those who have seen Quentin Tarantino's latest offering, The Hateful Eight, who may be the best casting choice HBO has made since pairing up two guys named McConaughey and Harrelson during season 1 of True Detective.
Take care, Ian.
What the hell did you do that for?
Said to take care of him.
I meant cut him loose.
Oh, shit. Well, I guess I have to be more careful with my words.
Vice Principals looks to be absolutely slapstick, zany, and really over-the-top gratuitous, and frankly, absurdly hysterical. Raunchy, downright dirty comedy deserves a firm spot on television today. Just see the brilliance of True TV's Those Who Can't. Think back to the best days of Eastbound and Down. Joining McBride and Goggins are Bijou Phillips, think Freaks and Geeks, and Shea Wingham, think Boardwalk Empire, to lead what will probably be a solid supporting cast. But it's clear that the rivalry between McBride and Goggins, fighting for the top spot at their shared school, will be the central focus of this show. It already has my front-runner status for funniest show of the summer, and is my most anticipated show of the summer because I need to laugh. And I think you do too.
I am not alone.
There's something in your heart.
I am a room full of friends. A crowd full of cheers. I am full of wonder. I am you. And together, we can change the world.
The 2016 Rio Summer Olympics opening ceremony begins in prime time on NBC on Friday, August 5th. I simply don't understand why people wouldn't want to be a fan of the Olympics, why they don't watch as much as they can. Forget about all the controversy surrounding the host city and the country. For one night at least. The opening ceremonies are among my favorite moments of any Olympics and any sporting event. There are no medals won, there are no world records that are shattered. But you see the true spirit of the host country, the visiting athletes, and the Olympics themselves. It may sound cheesy, but I believe in the Olympic spirit. I believe it's real and it must be celebrated, and this is the best night to do it. From the parade of athletes marching into the stadium, the musical acts, to the torch lighting itself, and the smart money is on Pele doing it. That's just not going to be into any type of contention. It's going to be Pele. Look, Rio and Brazil can show us something that's not related to Zika, poverty, political corruption, and crime. And I, for one, will be watching every minute of these opening ceremonies live. The Get Down, 6-episode limited series, drops on Netflix August 12th. One of the best things about the emergence of great television is that noted Hollywood directors, previously exclusively linked with feature films to that point, have come around to the TV side of things. And once they showed up, they seemed more than content to stay for a while. Steven Soderbergh in The Knick, David Fincher in House of Cards, and Steve Zalian with the aforementioned The Night Before are just a few examples. If I would tell you that Baz Luhrmann, the director of Romeo and Juliet, Moulin Rouge, and The Great Gatsby, only a few years ago would make a similar transition, you wouldn't have likely believed it. But that's the world of television that we live in today. And trust me, we're better for it. For Netflix's The Get Down, Ezekiel, Shaolin Fantastic, Boo Boo, Ra Ra, and Mylene Cruz are teenagers in the South Bronx as hip-hop, punk, and disco emerges from 1970s New York. The cast includes Jimmy Smits, think NYPD Blue and The West Wing, Giancarlo Esposito, think Gus Fring on Breaking Bad, and Jaden Smith, aka the new Karate Kid. Okay, maybe the Jaden Smith inclusion, think batshit crazy, isn't the most exciting news, but I'll live with it. What is exciting news is musical consultants like Grandmaster Flash, DJ Kool, and Nas are being directly involved with this show, and that so much of the cast is relative unknowns. Just 6 episodes long as far as I know at this point. That's maybe the best news of all. We're not only long past the need for 24-episode season-long dramas, But a limited series succeeds when it's 13, 12, 10, 8, 6, however many episodes you want it to be. Think about The Honorable Woman or War and Peace. It allows for a more cinematic feel, even on the smaller screen. It can also allow a director to have their fingerprints all over the story, without getting lost in too many hours of filmmaking and editing to complete. Multiple directors can sometimes bring about multiple stories. Lerman's not going to let that happen. And with the visual brilliance and inventive blend of music that you can find all over Lerman's films, this seems clearly on a path towards major success and another highly anticipated Netflix summer series that I can't wait to watch.
So I want to know, first of all, what is it like getting inside the mind of a man who so many people consider to be evil?
Wow, it's very complex. It's a very complex question because he was absolutely a mean and evil person, but at the same time, he was a human being. He was a person, and what I did as an actor, and this is what I always do when I'm working on a character. I don't think when I'm looking at a character, I don't think as good or bad or evil, or just try to understand who that person is.
And lastly, Narcos, whose second season drops on Netflix this August, the specific date still to be announced. If you didn't catch the first season of Narcos on Netflix yet, don't worry, there's plenty of time. Oh, I wouldn't wait too long because it's that damn good. Narcos is binge-watching in the Netflix and chill model at its absolute finest. Shout out to show favorite Jimmy Wright for getting me hooked on this show. Set and filmed in Colombia, Season 1 told the story of notorious drug kingpin Pablo Escobar, who became a billionaire through the production and distribution of cocaine, while also focusing on Escobar's interactions with drug lords, DEA agents, and various opposition entities. The first season was a major critical success and a surprise gem for Netflix. The Philadelphia Inquirer may have said it best. Intense, enlightening, brilliant, unnerving, and addictive. Narcos is high-concept drama at its absolute finest. Starring Wagner Moura as Pablo Escobar, Boyd Holbrook as American DEA agent Steve Murphy, and Pedro Pascal, think Oberyn Martell in Game of Thrones, the narration and gripping drama almost made this seem half Scorsese and half Wikipedia at times. 10 episodes long and around an hour a clip, the second season hasn't released an official trailer. And we don't have a specific synopsis. We don't even know if Pablo Escobar's death, that is not a spoiler alert, folks, if that'll be featured by season's end. What we do know is this is perhaps the summer's best upcoming drama, as Pablo's many, many rises and eventual fall will be chronicled before our eyes. Eyes ready to watch the entire series in less than 3 days, like mine. Why not take a look at a pair of flyers? That is shows I'm giving an episode, 2 at the most, to catch my attention and keep me watching. The first is on Cinemax, and it premiered Friday, June 3rd. It's called Outcast. There are no zombies to be found in this exorcism tale. Instead, the story centers on a man, played by Patrick Fugit of Almost Famous fame, who has been plagued by demonic possessions for his entire life. Philip Glenister, Life on Mars, plays the preacher who aids him in his journey. The pilot finds Adam Wingard, The Guest, which by the way was an absolutely stellar modern-day horror flick from 2014, directing from Kirkman's own script. Ahead of its premiere on March 14, 2016, this show, Outcast, was renewed for a second season by Cinemax. And before you scoff at watching this series on Cinemax, or to some of you, you simply think of it as Skinemax, think no further than shows like Mr. Robot, which just won a Golden Globe for Best Drama while airing on USA. Or think about AMC before you started watching Mad Men, The Breaking Bad, or Walking Dead. American movie classics, folks. Or FX with shows like The Shield, Justified, Sons of Anarchy, and now The Americans, and so on. The second show, which its entire first season will drop on Netflix Friday, July 15th, is called Stranger Things. This 8-episode Netflix original is a supernatural thriller, originally titled Montauk, and described as a love letter to 1980s horror classics, so there's a theme on these flyers. This show stars Winona Ryder, Matthew Modine, and David Harbour. It was created, written, and directed by the brothers, Matt and Ross Duffer, and produced by Sean Levy. Stranger Things centers on the mysterious disappearance of a 12-year-old boy, the son of Winona Ryder's character, who's playing a working single-class mom. Question for me for both of these shows is, will either of them make it on a future episode of this show with their own specific review? Meaning that I stuck with them. You know, everything's possible. Fortunately, there's nothing to lose if quality television is your potential reward and something in the new age horror genre interests you. It's a couple of flyers, but I'm hoping they make the cut.
She does not like me at all.
Everything he is, I hate. You're so annoying.
Welcome to your worst nightmare. You're going to be paired up with your rival of the opposite sex.
This is going to be complete chaos. I am putting all of my faith in my enemy.
Johnny, what the Did you do that on purpose, Dick?
I trusted you.
You know who I am. I'm not going to be able to get rid of my dickness.
It's like we're in a damn relationship.
I need you to step your mother game up.
Seriously? I can't believe I'm stuck with that douchebag.
That's your partner.
The person that has my back has basically stuck a knife in it. It is going to blow up.
What's up? Is this real life?
I'm not gonna back down. I'm gonna show them why we're the new generation of the challenge.
Viva Mexico!
Bitch, you won't die in this house. Do you hear me?
I warned you before. You're out of here. Get your stuff. Y'all take care. Hope to see you never.
Time for a bonus plug, and that's The Challenge Rivals 3, which airs every Wednesday at 10 p.m. on MTV. Look, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a plug to watch MTV's The Challenge Rivals 3. Why? Well, it's pretty obvious as I've been reviewing this season, each and every episode, every Friday, for a limited series we call Rise to the Challenge. Whether it's the in-house drama, the eliminations, or the never-ending debate, deliberations, and drama, look, every Friday we drop this episode because we enjoy the mayhem and madness that is this season and every season of MTV's The Challenge. And here at the Baker's Dozen Podcast, we're not afraid to admit that shows like this are a mindless, guilty pleasure that can sometimes be TV watching at its best. It's not a dating show, nor is it contain any real housewives, but it's a reality show with a bunch of 20 and 30-year-olds who haven't quite grown up yet, living in the reality TV world as long as they can, and hey, we love them for it. You don't have to be a fan of the real world or Are You the One, or know much about the Challenge universe to enjoy this show. Just fire up the DVR, go on demand, or check out some clips online, and binge watch the first few episodes of this season, The Challenge Rivals 3, and trust me, you'll catch up quickly. Truth be told, you give it 2 episodes and I guarantee you're going to find yourself hooked, whether you want to admit it or not. You can also check out our podcast series as you're watching every episode. That series is called Rise to the Challenge, and it's here on the same feed as the Baker's Dozen Podcast. And we review each and every episode and drop our review every Friday. You can also check out all that we have to offer in our archive. Hey, not too bad of a bonus plug, right?
How are they not embarrassed?
Thank you to the listeners, as always, for listening to this week's episode here at the Baker's Dozen Podcast. It's always fun to visit the Pop Culture Corner and talk television. With a stacked summer TV lineup, something that wasn't often said even 6 or 7 years ago, there's plenty for people to enjoy of all genres from all networks, all platforms. And your DVR is more than ready for a rainy day or lazy Sunday to catch up. A big thank you again to my 3 guests who came on the show today. Brett Needham talked Mr. Robot, Schuyler Van Valkenburg talked The Americans, and Jack Hatch returned to the show to discuss AMC's new series, Preacher. Keep connecting with us here at the show on social media, whether Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. All of our contact information is available on the description and info for this episode you're listening to right now. Search for us and you'll find us at the Baker's Dozen Podcast. Ditto for subscribing on iTunes, the podcast app, or just bookmarking our page at Podomatic.com. We're here solely because of you, the listeners, and we can't thank you enough for your support. The archive is growing weekly, and there's plenty in all realms, sports, pop culture, politics, and more, for you to enjoy. We'll be back next week to talk all about the upcoming U.S. Open with the man who helped launch this 3rd season, Jimmy Wright. And Jimmy's going to be here to do what he does best, preview what to expect at the U.S. Open. He's also going to discuss the Richmond Innsbruck After Hours concert series for this summer, which is a tremendous lineup, and check in on Major League Baseball as well. Chris Johnson and Tim Crumrine will return as well in our Pickoff Challenge with a few new rules as we draft from 16 total people for the U.S. Open, trying to see who's going to win. I'm defending my Masters title, but Jimmy wasn't there, so I'm amped for a repeat. It's an episode you definitely won't want to miss. Episode 6 of our limited series Rise to the Challenge, in which we break down the latest installment of MTV's The Challenge Rivals 3, will drop this weekend as well. It's busy as usual here at the Baker System Podcast, which means it's business as usual. But until then, you know, it's on to the next one.
On to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next. Hold up. Hey. Somebody bring me back the money, please.
7? Yeah, I guess I could see it. 7. 7 periods of school, 7 beatings a day. Roughly 7 stitches a beating, and eventually 7 years to life. Yeah, you're doing that child quite a service.
Yes, I am. I defy you to come up with a better name than 7.
All right, let's see. How about Mug? Mug Costanza. That's original. Or Ketchup. Pretty name for a girl.
You having a good time now?
I got 50 right here in the cupboard. How about Bisquick? Pimento? Gherkin? Sauce? Maxwell House?
All right!